coach. Joining us now is an exercise physiologist and the CEO of Applied Fitness Solutions. Michael Stack joins us now on the Oakland County Megacast. Mr. Stack, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So how are you? How's your team?
My team is actually doing remarkably well. I have to say that I think that's probably been one of the highlights of this very challenging situation, is just to see how much our team and our community has rallied. I mean, we have a really strong culture and strong community in the first place, and I feel like this really challenging period has just magnified that a lot for me. And it's been really heartening to see how much everyone has pulled together to try to provide a very important service to people during a very challenging time.
Gyms in the state of Michigan came so close to reopening just a couple of weeks back. And at the 11th hour, about 9 o'clock at night, the night before they were scheduled to be able to reopen at 12:01 midnight, they were ruled to be closed once again. Your thoughts on the decision? Was it the right decision at the state level for gyms to be closed? Can gyms, as of now, operate safely? And will people that are going to be gym goers, are they going to follow those guidelines?
Yeah, that seems to be the million-dollar question. And I think I'm probably going to take a somewhat contrarian approach to the rest of our industry here and say, I actually don't think at this point gyms should probably be open. And I say that as a gym owner that is losing a substantial amount of money day by day that we're not open. But I mean, the reality of the transmission of this virus is, since it's transmitted through respiration, and since indoor exercise or exercise in general increases respiration 3 to 4 times above rest, and we know that indoor environments are highly transmissible, I don't think it's appropriate at this point, based on what we're seeing in terms of the trajectory of the virus around the country, for indoor exercise to be happening to a great extent. So I actually am in support of maintaining a more scaled back presence for our industry. Fitness is critically important. I mean, I think that this pandemic has really scaled up the importance of health globally. And certainly we all need to stay in shape and fit and healthy, but there are many different vehicles to do that through outdoor workouts, streaming workouts. I don't think it necessarily requires people to be back inside of gyms and fitness centers right now exercising until we have a little bit better of a handle on how to control the pandemic.
Michael Stack joining us. He is the CEO of Applied Fitness Solutions. He's also an exercise physiologist with us on the Oakland County Megacast. So indoor gyms are closed. Outdoor exercise programs are still permissible in the state of Michigan. And as a result of gym closures, a lot more people are participating in outdoor fitness. Any particular benefits to outdoor forms of fitness as opposed to maybe what you would do inside a gym or even inside your home?
Well, I think certainly the one thing outdoor exercise has allowed us to do is gather people in a group again for exercise. Each of my 3 facilities are running outdoor workouts with 50 to 100 people in each workouts. And the fact that we're doing them outdoors allows us to space people 9 to 12 feet apart. It allows us to have that social element and camaraderie that people crave who come to our kinds of fitness facilities. And I think much of the benefit is that social element. Beyond that, having a trainer that could be there with you to cue and correct and modify exercises as needed and motivate you is something that you just can't get quite as well through a virtual medium. So I think there are tremendous benefits in terms of just the execution of those workouts. I also think there's ample benefits just to being outside, getting sunlight, and certainly we know that outdoor exercise greatly reduces the transmissibility of the virus, just simply because it allows the air to diffuse more. Sunlight definitely tends to inactivate the virus based on the research that I've read. So it seems like that's going to be a great alternative for our industry in the state until we're actually able to get back open and start exercising inside of our facilities.
Michael Stack joining us on the Oakland County Megacast, the CEO of Applied Fitness Solutions. For those who do partake in outdoor fitness, what are some things that they need to be looking for or be cognizant of for their own safety, especially given the weather outside?
Yeah, I think that's the conundrum we're kind of in right now, is that this is a time where all we can do is exercise outside in the state in groups and as facilities, but obviously it's very warm out. I would say first and foremost, if you are exercising with some facility, they should be using guidelines from the American College of Sport Medicine that dictate when outdoor exercise is appropriate and what level of appropriate intensity should exist There's some information out there on heat and humidity as kind of like a cross section in a graph that tells you when outdoor exercise is actually contraindicated. So facilities have that information. In general, if you're working out on your own outside, you should consider time of day. Certainly working out earlier in the day or later in the day is better to working out midday when it tends to be the hottest and the most humid out. Staying well hydrated is obviously critically important. I think overhydrating yourself during this time of year with not just water, but maybe a substance like a Gatorade or a Powerade would be appropriate. People who are older, people who are obese, people who tend to have medical conditions need to be a little bit more cautious with exercising outdoors in the heat. I would say if you're anyone that falls into one of those categories, you should definitely consider exercising earlier in the day outside or trying to find a way to exercise in the shade. If you are working out in group settings, and this is something that we've been particularly challenged with our clients, because ours is a very close, affectionate community to a certain degree, is maintaining that social distance. Just because you're outdoors and you're exercising doesn't mitigate that social distancing that we all need to maintain. So even when you are exercising outdoors, making sure you're setting yourself up 9 to 12 feet apart, you're maintaining those distances. I know we want to hug and I know we want to high five because that's the nature of a lot of fitness communities, but it's just not the appropriate time for that. So if there was ever a time to practice, air high fives and air fist bumps, now's the time to do it, just so we can maintain that safe social distance and be able to continue doing this one thing that we can do to work out in a group.
Michael, if I can ask you, the weather right now allows us to be outside, but we are in Michigan. So if this continues, how do you think this is going to impact the industry if, let's say, it's December, January, and fitness centers still are not allowed to reopen?
Yeah, that is a great question and certainly a real concern. That's something I was just actually talking about with my leadership team earlier this morning. I think what it's going to amount to is we're going to have to once again pivot as an industry to more virtual workouts. Either they could be streamed on YouTube or Facebook or on a platform like Zoom where you have a little bit more direct interaction. Certainly the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the expectation of the fitness consumer such that now they expect a virtual or streaming offering to be part of their experience with a facility. And I think until there's a vaccine or really good therapeutics, as an industry, we may have to be prepared to bounce back and forth between indoor in-facility workouts, virtual workouts, outdoor workouts when it's appropriate during the year. And I think that that's just going to be, to use a greatly overused phrase, the new normal in our industry for a while. But it definitely is a concern, particularly on the economic side of the equation. Certainly all of the brick and mortar fitness businesses make the vast majority of their money from workouts that are done in facility, and there's simply not the margins and the scale in virtual workouts that there are in facility workouts. So I suspect if this lasts in through the winter and there are closures of fitness facilities, you are going to see a lot of fitness businesses having a very difficult time making it. Fitness is not a high profit margin business. Our labor costs tend to be very high because we're a service oriented industry. Most fitness centers operate off a 20 to 25% profit margin. And just looking at industry statistics right now, they suggest that no more than about 45 to 50% of clients are willing to come back to facilities right away. And that in and of itself wipes out that really tight profit margin in the first place. So I think we definitely have some challenges ahead of us as an industry when we aren't going to be able to work out outdoors in groups like we are right now.
Michael Stack with us, the CEO of Applied Fitness Solutions. He's also an exercise physiologist with us on the Oakland County Megacast. So, Michael, many people are still working out at home. Maybe they're not doing that through a gym facility, or they're not doing it through a specific workout program, and they're just looking up exercises, putting together some plans on their own, and working out inside their home. Maybe they're trying for the first time. As an exercise physiologist and understanding the many ways that that these at-home workouts that are being done by a novice or not being done with proper form can lead to issues, what do people need to consider when they're engaging in these at-home programs for their own safety and for their own physical gain going forward as they're developing their fitness?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing that we've seen through this, is that there's definitely an uptick of certain orthopedic issues and injuries associated with indoor exercise. And there's a number of things to consider. I'll go over a couple things on a very, very basic level. First off, if you're not doing any exercise whatsoever right now and you're looking to get into a program, maybe because you have more time because you're working from home, I think making sure that it's appropriate medically. If you do have any pre-existing conditions, particularly things like cardiovascular disease or any neurological disorders, just checking with your doctor first to make sure it's appropriate for you to begin an exercise routine is definitely a good place to start. From a really pragmatic standpoint, one thing I will say is make sure you set your exercise area up inside your home appropriately. I know I've seen issues that clients have had with turning an ankle on a child's toy that's on the ground, or an animal running through and that causing someone to misstep and tweak their knee during a workout. And I know that sounds pretty matter of fact and pretty basic, but the reality is we're used to an isolated area where we do our workouts that's kind of free of all these other impediments, and we don't have that now being at home. In terms of like the practicality of the actual workouts, I think that starting with body weight greatly limits the risk of injury for the vast majority of people. I would avoid trying to start with workouts that involve any sort of heavy resistance if you're just getting into it. I mean, maybe you have exercised in the past and you stopped for a period of time and now you're getting back into it. Making sure you do something that's at an appropriate intensity is very important right off the bat. And generally speaking, starting with your body weight is the best way to ensure that you don't overtax the body and cause some type of a tendonitis issue, which is often most common when people begin an exercise program. I would then say just build slowly. I think progression is the key to success in exercise. And I think if you always, when you start an exercise program, leave a little bit left in the tank at the end of a set or at the end of an exercise where you could have done a little bit more, but you didn't quite do that little bit more, it just allows you room to build into a progressively more intense exercise program. That typically is what gets most people when they start exercise, is they just do too much too quick because they're motivated and they're overzealous, and it results in a tendonitis type of an issue. I think the last thing you can do in terms of ensuring you mitigate the risk of injury or any other type of negative event is try to space out when you do your more resistance-based exercise. So if you are doing even body weight-based strength training, using bands or using dumbbells, trying to space that out every other day instead of every day is normally a good way to ensure your body recovers. And then on those days in between, perfect day to go for a walk or do some type of cardiovascular exercise. And I think last and probably most important is if something actually causes pain, stop doing it, assess why the pain is occurring, and then decide what the next most appropriate thing is to do from there. And if the pain persists, there is a bunch of physical therapy companies that are doing virtual PT right now that can normally do injury assessment over Zoom, just like we're doing right now, and can give you an idea if you have injured something, how you should modify your exercise program to ensure it doesn't exacerbate whatever you hurt.
Michael Stack with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Before we let you go, anything else you'd like to touch on today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing, and I've kind of said this to everyone with regard to, exercise and COVID-19, is just that, we all need to focus on our health and our fitness. And when that can be done in gyms and fitness centers, it absolutely should be. But I think for the greater good of the public's health, that needs to be a very measured and progressive approach. Between now and then, there are lots of different ways for you to engage in activities to improve your health and your fitness and your well-being. And I encourage you to look at all of those different channels. And then when gyms and fitness centers do reopen, I think it's incumbent upon everyone to do an individual risk assessment as to if it's appropriate for you to go back in there. I'll come flat out and say, as a fitness facility owner, that we can't completely eliminate the risk of contracting COVID-19 from coming in one of our facilities. We can do a lot to mitigate it, but we can't eliminate it. And you just have to make that individual risk assessment for yourself and decide if and when getting back in is appropriate for you and your family and the people that you're around. But that doesn't mean that you can't improve your fitness and your wellness. The one great thing that our industry has done is they have pivoted to this virtual medium. There are so many companies that are local like mine that are doing things through Facebook, doing things through YouTube. If there was ever a time to connect with a variety of fitness and wellness professionals virtually, that time is now. So experiment find things that work. It's clear that COVID-19 and this pandemic is going to be with us for a little bit. And we have to figure out a way to maintain our physical and mental health and well-being during this period of time. And there's no better thing to do that than fitness. We just have to do it through the appropriate vehicle right now.
Well, Michael, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Michael Stack, an exercise physiologist and CEO of Applied Fitness Solutions, with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.